Good morning, Year 5. Wednesday morning, great. I hope you're enjoying the entry into War of the Worlds, one of my favourite books of all time. We're going to start today's lesson by looking at a passage of the text, and I'd like you to read this description of the Martian, okay? And then what I want you to do is, using H.G. Wells's description, I want you to draw a picture of this Martian, okay? But you have to stick closely to the text. So what I'd like you to do is you can either highlight, talk about it, you could even make a list of the adjectives and maybe even the verbs as well that are in his description. Okay, so don't just colour it in blue. You need to have a look. Don't give it like three eyes. You need to have a look. You need to read the text. Okay, so looking forward to those pictures, and it would be brilliant as well if you could take a photo and send some in. I'd really like to see those. Okay, so pause the video, have a read, and good luck with that task. See you in a minute. Okay, welcome back. Let's move on. So, yesterday you had your first kind of reading of War of the Worlds, and I thought it would be really important to give you an idea of the time that it was set in. So it was set in Victorian times. This is a photo of Queen Victoria right here. So it was a long time ago, kind of 121 years ago. And in the book it says it was at the end of the 19th century. Okay, so people obviously wore different clothes, they behaved differently. It was before the First World War, okay? And things like photography had just taken off. Here is a fantastic photo of a Victorian astronomer looking through his telescope in something called an observatory. So the building where you would study the stars and astronomy would be called an observatory, and they were often domed in shape. Okay, I just think that photo is absolutely brilliant. Okay, so in our book we're introduced to a character called Ogilvy. Now you'd imagine that Ogilvy would be using this sort of equipment to look at Mars. Okay, again, things like transport, moving into the steam age and things like that. If you were quite wealthy, you might have a carriage, but people travelled around on horses. Motor car, not so much. Don't think it was had been invented at that point, or mass produced. And people would get their information from the local journal or the local paper as well. So what was going on in the world and in their community would be in print form. So we're not sending text messages, we're not using computers. We get our stories from our newspapers, which is where you come in, because you're a reporter, believe it or not. Okay, so a lot has been going on. Fantastic picture here, a bit scary too. Today, what I'd like you to do, this is part of your planning, I'd like you to order a sequence of events. Now, yesterday's information, there was a lot of it, and I don't want you to feel overloaded by all of that information. Hopefully you've made some notes, but I've done my work as well, and I've created a little information sheet for you to have a look at for this lesson. Now, things have gone from bad to worse. You have to warn London as to what is happening. Cruel days have passed, and God only knows what is to follow. and that's going to be your job, is to record and to report. All right, so when we write a chronological report, we must sequence the events in order of time. In this case, we're going to start with a little bit of the backstory, what the astronomers have noted, and then those events that lead up to the present day and what has happened. And then you can also begin to make predictions as to what is going to happen in the future as well. Okay, so that's how we're going to structure our report. We need to mention what has happened in the past, mention what has led up to the present event, and then we can also make a prediction as to what might happen next. Okay, so we're focusing on time. Right, so what I'd like you to do in our resources, I want you to read the snippets of information, and you can cross-check these with the notes that you've already got or made from yesterday. If you're missing key points, and now's the time you can add those in. And hopefully you'll have quite a clear idea as about the who, the where, the what, and the why. Okay, so think about that. Why have the Martians launched an attack on planet Earth? So you should be able to answer those questions. Okay, what has happened? You should be really clear on that. Where has this taken place? Okay, so do you remember we said it was on a common? So Horsell Common is where it's taken place, in Surrey, near London. All of this information is in your resources, so please do check that out. So we're going to focus on the when today. So your mission is to draw a timeline, okay, something like that, an arrow in your book, and I would definitely turn my book landscape or work on a piece of paper that is landscape, so you've got a longer arrow to work from. Okay, and then you're going to mark on the key events that you need to report on. So on my timeline here, my arrow, I know that the events started one night, and that was in 1899. Okay, the turn of the 19th century. And then events took place 10 days on. Something happened on the 11th night. Okay, and then the 12th day was really important as well. So you're going to mark along your timeline those key events. Right, so what happened? What can you see? This is an image of Mars. What was happening on Mars? This is your backstory. Okay, what did you observe? Who have you spoken to? Okay, and finally, what did you see coming out of that metallic cylinder? Right, so this is your information sheet that you will need for this lesson. Okay, now you can bullet point your ideas or the events around your arrow. I haven't said this is number 1 box, this is number 2 box, this is number 3 box. That's up to you to kind of work it out. There is a little bit of a pattern and there are clues there. If you need to go back to Tuesday's lesson and just listen to the reading of the chapter again, that will help you massively. Okay, and it's good to get that part of the story really stuck into your brains. Okay, so I'm not going to read through all of that because that's going to be your job. Okay, so at the bottom it just says use the information to place the events on your timeline, you can make up a real date set in that time. So it might be, it was Thursday, the 12th of February 1899, when astronomers first noticed something strange happening on Mars. Okay, now again, you don't have to write out the whole thing like that. It is just bullet pointing the events. Be really clear on that. Okay, right, so here we go. You must order a sequence of events. You should use the information given. It's there. You could add your notes from yesterday. So if you picked out anything more from the book yesterday that you want to add around your timeline, then absolutely do that. And you might start to think about using different time conjunctions as well. Okay, so time conjunctions: after, next, early, later on. Okay, we don't want to keep repeating the same ones because that's really dull. So this is one day of planning. Tomorrow we're going to look at structuring our actual newspaper page. So we will do another day on our planning. It's really important. All right, so I hope you have fun doing that. Some of you have been DMing me. I thought that was a boot, but apparently not. It means direct messaging me, saying how much you've enjoyed the beginning of War of the Worlds, which is fantastic. Right, good luck with that, guys. I'm going to say goodbye. Hope you have a really good day. And if you're in the bubble, you're talking to me anyway. Cheerio.